Hi folks, I'm Matt and welcome to my top 100, that's right, I'm just going to say 100 now, board games of all time. Folks, we are in the top 90 and I can't wait to talk about them. So here we go. At number 90 is Formula E. Formula E is the elephant racing game. Now in this game, you're also playing several cards. You can play these really powerful cards that move you really fast, or these less powerful cards, but you get to add another action onto that one that is really nice as well. Now in this game, you are playing cards. You're either playing some fast-moving elephant action cards, or maybe slower movement, but you can play another card with it for a bonus action. And it makes the game really unique. Now, I believe the track is double-sided and I have the extra expansion track, and this game is super fun. It's very simple to play. I can't understand, I don't know what the appeal is. You're just little, meeples on elephants. Maybe that's the appeal there. But it's so much fun. It's so simple to play. And what makes this game unique for me and my game group is every time we bring a game out, we're usually only going to play it once and put it back up. But whenever Formula E comes out, we play that sucker at least 3 times, maybe even 4. This is such a fun game. I love it. It was a joke on another game, Formula D, I'm pretty sure. I heard at one point they were thinking about doing a reprint, but then decided against it since, I guess it was just a joke. But I really wish they would, because Formula E is incredibly fun. I mean, you're just basically playing cards, moving around, but the different actions you can do and the card combos you can make are really interesting, especially because you can block other players out with other elephants, or with cattle, putting cattle in their way, or putting a mouse on their square, which backs the elephant back some on the track. Like I said, just some wonderful ideas that they have for this game. I absolutely love it. Formula E. Let me talk about where it was on my last year. It was 77 on my list. So it goes down 13, which to be honest is really incredible if you think about it. I had a lot more games added to my list than 13. So this one outlasted a lot of them, and that's just because it is so much fun to play. At number 89 is a new game to my list. It's called North Wind. And North Wind, you are basically sailing this ship to these 3 different ports. You're trying to gather resources to fulfill the needs of those ports, and you're also fighting off and capturing, hopefully, some pirates as well. Now, along the way, any money you earn, you're putting it back into your ship, and the ship is this big 3D standout thing. I mean, yeah, it's a little overproduced. You just need a player board for it, but the fact that they made a ship is really cool. You need cannons to help you out with the pirates. You need your sails to be higher so you can dig through more tiles when you go to a port and have more options. And there's several different bonuses, ways you can customize your ship differently from other players as well. And of course, you're trying to get 3 different ports and fulfill 3 different contracts too. And so there's this nice, neat balancing act, because you're also trying to avoid pirates as well. Now, some people have talked about the tiles. They say, well, once you shuffle them, you know what's there. Well, yeah, okay, so this area just happens to be pirate infested this time. There's a track where you have to capture pirates. So you know what? I got to go to this port because they have X. Or this place, that port, I know some of the tiles in there have low cost for some resource, so I'll go there. I also know that the port next to them, they pay mucho money for that resource. So it works. I love it. Some people say, well, just shuffle them around every time. No, I like knowing what port does what. After a while, you get familiar with it, like, okay, I need to go here, then I know that tile's somewhere in there, but it also forces you to raise your sails so you can pick more cards. It's such a fun game. This game shocked me. I remember when I brought it out and I got it. It was on clearance online. I was like, well, let me try this out. And I looked at it and said, this may not be the best game in the world, but we'll try it out. And we all immediately fell in love with it. And I do like the 3D ships. They are really nice. I guess the game never took off because it wasn't that special. I don't know. Some people say the 3D ship is a gimmick. And yeah, they may be right. But man, we love those little 3D ships. And that they have their own names. That's super cool. My number 88 has been in my collection for quite some time. It is the push your luck game Quartz. In Quartz, you are drawing, well, I guess quartz out of a bag, and you're trying to get these precious gems. And you keep going until you get 2 black gems. Well, preferably just 1. If you get a second one, you lose all your gems and you're booted out of the mine for the day. And you get a Mining for Dummies token, which will let you toss a black crystal another time on the next round. Push your luck, man. I'm never going to win this game, but I absolutely love it. Absolutely love the game. You're just drawing gems out of a bag. However, you do have cards you can play, on other players, or cards that you can use to help yourself. Those cards are also worth victory points at the end of the game as well, so you may want to keep them too. Now, this game recently got rethemed as a Snow White in the Seven Dwarves game. Wow, I wish I would have gotten it then. I love that idea for a theme. But Quartz in and of itself, very simple. If you like push your luck games, I don't even know what you're doing not having this in your collection, because Quartz is super fun. Now, 3 years ago when it got added to my list, it was number 44, then it dropped to 50, then it dropped to 58, so it's slowly been going down, but here it took a big jump down about, 30 spots there, and mainly that's because so many new games came in. But Quartz is just a great push your luck game. I love it. My number 87 is the dice throwing game Dice Town. Ooh, in Dice Town, you're rolling these dice in a cup and basically trying to get the best hand. You see the dice are aces, kings, queens, jacks, tens, nines, and you're trying to get, of course, the best hand overall, but the most in a certain set. And if you like in a suite, like the most in nines, the most in tens, the most in jacks, each one, whoever has the majority of those, will get to pick some kind of bonus that's in those areas. Now, there are several expansions to this game, and I have played with all of them. I do like the base expansion. That's a lot of fun. We also play with the cattle and the cowboy one. That's a lot of fun too. The new one that came out, the new mini expansion, just a pack of cards, fistful of dollars or something. That one's okay. We didn't play with it the last time we played though. We played with it a couple of times. And you can add all that in. There's just a billion choices. Now, whoever doesn't win one of those sections, I should say, goes to Dr. Unlucky, and he gives you some kind of, a prize for just finishing the race, I guess. It's a loser prize. But when you have the expansions, it's impossible for someone to lose. It's impossible. I love playing with the Indian die. There's an Indian die too. If you give up certain points in the game, you can get this Indian die. Now you have to roll it to see what can happen, but it could be something good and something that may help you out. Do you need the expansions for this game? Yes, only because I think the base game would get old after a while. But the expansions are really fun. I don't know if you need all of them, but I have really enjoyed this game. I've played it with my nephews, with my gaming group. It's so much fun shaking those dice in that cup and then slamming that cup down and seeing what you got, and seeing you can only pick one at a time. You can pay more money to keep two, but usually you have to keep re-rolling and re-rolling over again. It is a really fun game. Now, a few years back, 2 years ago, when this game first got on my list, it was number 43. Then it dropped down to number 50, and now it moves down 37 spots. But I still love the game. I can't explain why it dropped that much, because I don't know if, some of that's new games, of course, but I don't know. Maybe I just found other games more enticing. I don't know. But I still love Dice Town. Hey, what am I talking about? It's number 87. Good for it. And the rest of the games on my list here are brand spanking new. In fact, talking about brand spanking, number 86 is Yunnan. Yunnan, I just bought this game prior to doing these reviews, and in Yunnan you are basically bidding in certain areas. Now, there are 2 small bids, but you're not guaranteed to win that bid. If you do a big bid, you're guaranteed to at least get the reward even if someone outbids you, but you're spending a ton of money. You can also pull all your bids and fool everyone and go to the bank, which means you're going to get a portion of what everyone's bidding, and that's really good too, because money is tight. Now, in Yunnan, you are basically establishing a trade route through China, I believe. And to do that is a lot harder than you think. In fact, trying to get to the tippy top land is possible. We've done it a few times, but it is the overall goal. I mean, they timed this game just right. Usually games like this, I think, need one more round, just one more round. And Yunnan says, I'll give you that one more round, but you won't always make it. Doing an extra round after that wouldn't be worth it. It just wouldn't be worth it. The timing of when this game ends is perfect. The tracks, there is different strategies depending on which tracks you're going up on. The first time we played this game, none of us knew, what was the best track to go on, and we all picked different tracks to win on, and we all had pretty good advantages on one side. But of course, just like any game, you need some balance there. Now, of course, some of these tracks, the further you go up, the more victory points you'll get as well, which is what my nephew figured out. And when he was winning something, I was like, why are you winning that? You're not even using that. I realized he was trying to get those in-game victory points. Hey, that gave him the win. Oh, bravo. Now, this is a game where when you're scoring victory points, you can either score victory points or get those victory points in money, or do half and half. And you're thinking, well, why don't you just get victory points? Because you need money. Money is super tight in the game. But you don't want to take all the money. You want to get points too. And I've learned that there's a big balance here, because pretty soon you'll be scoring a ton of points if you've got a good, trade line moving through. And at that point, someone's got to say, all right, I'm not going to take coin anymore, to keep winning these crazy bids. I'm going to take points. And that's all it takes for the point race to begin. Then people are splitting their points with money. And then they do, points, money, points, money. It's so great. That decision right there can win you or lose you the game. I was really impressed by this game. Like I said, I got it, I'd say a month or so ago before doing this review. And I was like, I played it a lot, and I thought, yeah, I do think this is a pretty good game. In fact, there it is on a little shelf all by its own, because I don't have any other games to fill in next to it, because it's that new. But Union is just a really surprisingly I should say, great game. My number 85 comes from Queen Games. It's one of their newer ones too, Luxor. And Luxor, you are, raiding a mummy's tomb, and you're playing cards and moving those spaces, but you're trying to get all your men on certain spaces at the same time, because that will unlock the treasure that they're sitting on. Sometimes only one man will do it, sometimes it's two, sometimes it's three. And of course, you're doing some set collection here, because the more you have of each set of 3 different items in the base game, you're going to get a bonus as well. Now, let me tell you how I got this game. I actually played it at BGG SpringCon, I think it was last year. And I remember one of my viewers actually came up and talked to me and said, so what did you think of the game? I was like, yeah, it was good. I think I need to play it some more, because I played it wrong the first time. As always, I missed some rule, it seems. So we had to play it again. I was like, okay, that was fun. But then we had to move on and play something else. I didn't think anything of the game. Well, then later on, I talked about it with my nephews. I said, we liked that game, didn't we? And they said, yeah, sure. And so when the new Kickstarter came out with the expansion Mummy's Curse, I went ahead and got it, because it came with all the Queenies as well. I got to admit, we have played with all the Queenies. We've played with the Mummy's Curse. I like all the mini Queenies better than the Mummy's Curse. The Mummy's Curse isn't bad, but the mini Queenies are actually pretty good in this game. It's really nice. And, sometimes they're just basically different tiles, but I really do enjoy it. The game is super simple to teach and super easy to understand. Victory points are scored at the end. There's some victory points scored at the very beginning, but usually in the end is where everyone's throwing in all their points down, and then you get to see who the winner is. So you never really know who the winner is. Doesn't matter who's ahead. Just matters when the game ends, who had the most in-game victory points. Now, the game is readily available now. Do you need the expansion? No, but I'll probably play with it again. I probably would, because it was fun enough. And man, I love Queen Games. This is why they make great, simple, fun games. My number 84 is St. Petersburg. In St. Petersburg, you are taking turns drafting, or buying I should say, characters, buildings, royals, and some upgrades. Now, characters mainly just give you money, and then buildings can give you points or money. Same thing with royals, and upgrades give you either more points or more money. There is a great balance to this game where you need characters to generate money so you can buy more cards. And then, of course, you need to get the buildings and get them upgraded so you can get more victory points. Makes sense, right? Now, some people just like the first edition. They don't like the second edition. I got the second edition, and the second edition adds another level. It's the market. And I actually do enjoy the marketplace, because you're trying to draft cards there to get your marker at the market. Now, I usually hate card drafting games like this, but this one breaks the mold for me. I saw it, I think it was Rodder Runs Through, and I was like, I'll try this. Man, it's hard to get a copy for a good price. It took me a long time and a lot of patience to get a decent copy. And when it came in, the guy didn't give me one of the instruction manuals. There's one that tells you what all the cards are. He didn't have that in the box. And I didn't know. I thought, oh, okay, he has a really nice set here. And I opened up the instructions, read it, and I was like, well, wait a minute, what does this card do? What does this card do? Hey, how come they don't tell you what these cards do? So I went online to Board Game Geek, and man, what a great community. Someone figured out real fast that I was missing this type manual, so he put it online for me so I could get it and play the game. And then someone else was giving me the history of why those pictures are so odd and what they mean historically when it's when you're talking about St. Petersburg, which as a history major, color me super fascinated. I was like, wow, a donkey pooping out coins. There's a story behind that. I didn't even make that up. Number 83 is another new game in my collection. It's called Kashgar, Merchants of the Silk Road. In this game, you are basically deck building 3 different decks, and one card is on top of all these other cards. Every time you use that card, it moves to the bottom of the deck. So you need to use the other cards to get back to that card again. Now each card does certain actions. It can give you spice, it can give you gold, it can give you donkeys that will help you out in trade, and then eventually you're trying to get enough to fulfill a contract. But you need a character card to fulfill certain contracts. There are small contracts, special contracts, large contracts, and there's not, well, there is a merchant that can do them all, I think, but he's worth negative points in the game if you get him. I love the balance of this game. This is such an incredible game. Again, I think Rahdo runs through, I watched one of his playthroughs through it, and I was like, boy, that looks fascinating. And the game was super cheap, and I said, well, let me try it out. And I have played this game a lot, a whole lot since I've gotten it. I'm not really a deck building guy, but Kashgar Merchants of the Silk Road is just great with deck building, because there are also cards that can help thin your deck out, which is what you want happening later on, because one trail or train of people, it takes a while to get that card you need again. So sometimes you're using cards, or sometimes you're just wasting cards, and that sucks if you have to do that. But you're just putting that card to the bottom. You're not even using the ability because you don't need it, because maybe you're maxed out in that spice. Oh, man, such an underrated game. Excellent game. Kashgar, Merchants of the Silk Road. My next game just blew me away when I played it. It's number 82. It is called Praetor. In Praetor, you are using these dice to do certain actions. Every time you use them on certain actions, they're going to mature and get stronger. But eventually, when they get to a 6, they're just a little 6-sided die, they're going to retire. And in some cases, you may have to pay for their retirement as well. This is another roaming game where you're trying to basically get resources, plant tiles, get victory points, right? Basically, that's what it seems like on the surface. And every time I've seen this game on clearance, I was like, it must not be that good. But then Rahdo did his top 10 most underrated games. He put that on there. I was like, well, you know what? If Rahdo likes it, I may like it. So I gave it a shot, and wow, really shocking game. Really shocking game. You have to train new dice. Take the time to train new dice so you can have more workers, or watch out, you will run out of workers. The first time we played this game, me and my buddy were making some good points. I think all 3 of us were. But this one girl, I thought she was wasting her time. She was just training people, training dice. Well, eventually our dice matured and they got too old and they couldn't work anymore. And so we were scrabbling. There'd be turns where you only could train one person, or it takes 2 levels of training to get them for you to use them. So our whole turn, we were just moving them one space on the track and then waiting and letting everyone else do their moves. For that, another guy ran out of money because he just wasn't being careful with his money. He grew his population too high and didn't have the money to cover it. And so we were all kind of lurching here and there, but this girl who took her time, set up, her engine, and then she got to rolling, and she was just killing us in points. And the only reason I came back was there were these 2 big point tiles I got, and I think at the end she couldn't pay some of her employees, and so she lost a few points. I know that's how I won, because she lost some points, but she had a huge lead, and I just barely. If those 2 tiles hadn't come up randomly, I wouldn't have won the game. And we all sat back and we thought that was really fun. Now, I played this with my nephews, got the same type of experience. I played it a couple of times before, and it's just such a remarkable game. I have to agree with Rahdo. One of the most underrated games in the market today. Praetor. Excellent. Finally, number 81 is the Council of Four. I'm going to go with the first edition and not the awful, ugly looking CMON edition, which is on clearance everywhere, though it's the same game. And Council of Four, you're basically paying off the council by, either moving one of your men on there and sliding the last person off, or just, playing the right cards. Usually it's playing the right cards to appease that council who's in that section. And when you appease them, then you can build in that section. And of course there are bonuses to building in certain areas, certain colors, and certain paths, because every time you score one, any city that's connected to that you also have built upon, you will get those victory points, or bonus points I should say, again. So there is a lot of strategy in this game. The game is so simple, and here's why I like it. Here's why I knew it would be on my top 100. I play with people who have bad analysis paralysis. I mean awful analysis paralysis. And so when I looked at this game, I thought, oh, it's going to take forever. And they didn't. They really got used to the swing of things and said, hey, okay, I understand what's going on. And the decisions, they were already thinking. A game that makes you think in between turns instead of when it's your turn. And so we really got this game rolling, and the game got away from me. I had a big play to score a ton of points and just sweep the game, and then in one move, this game tore up my movement, because the only reason she got the building or the city was because it was in her path to connect and make a lot of bonus points. And boy, did she. She exploited that, and she just left us. When I saw that, I looked at my buddy, I went, I think she may win if she does this again. And of course she did it like 2 or 3 other times, and she killed us. She killed us. It was so good. Such a good strategy. The game will not get older because if you have the old version, the board comes in 3 different pieces. You can flip around any combination, and the roads will be different. They'll connect to different places, which is important. Now there is a new printing of this by CMON. I think it's hideous. I think it's ugly. I don't like CMON particularly. I don't have any CMON games, I don't think, in my collection for that reason. I think their games are for the most part garbage. The ones I've played anyway, the popular ones. And so when I looked online, that's the only copy I could find, and I looked at the pieces, and to me they just didn't look nice, and the game didn't look as attractive. I said, well, let me look at the first version. Oh yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Now unfortunately my box got thrown in the ocean, I think, at one time, because it arrived at my doorstep in broad daylight, clear skies, soaking wet. It was soaking wet. And so was the box. Thankfully the pieces and the board, I should say the board didn't get warped, but the box is just so water damaged. But it's a good thing though. I'm not going to sell the game, or no one would want it. The game it looks pretty bad on my shelf. I don't know if I have it around here, but besides all that, man, Council of Four, great game. If you can track down a first edition, go for it, but the new edition's probably cheaper and easier to find. All right, gang, that is it for now. Come back while I do my top 80 board games of all time. See you then.